Secretary Summers, attendance.
Yep. President Schaefer, absent. Vice President Reese.
Present.
Secretary Summers here. Treasury Hanser.
Present.
Trustee McDonough.
Here.
Trustee Schultz.
Here.
Trustee Whitney. Here.
All right. Item number 2 on the agenda. Any changes to the board agenda?
There are none.
Item number 3, school presentations. Mr. Kokosetta.
Yeah, you did good, huh? Good for you.
Oxford Crossroads. Thank you for coming.
This thing on? All right. Good evening. Thanks for spending the evening with me. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Guy Kokosetta. I'm the principal at Oxford Crossroads Day School right through the woods here. And my team members are on the thing just for clarification. In case you didn't know them, you can read them yourself. So, for those, a couple years ago, we switched from DHHS, abuse neglect wards, in our boot camp, which was a court-ordered kids, to all adjudicated youth. And spent the last about year and a half establishing some working partnerships with some juvenile justice probation type offices. We have 3 working cooperative agreements with, in the Tri-County area, Wayne County, Macomb County, and Oakland County. And we're really focused right now on substance abuse treatment. So we have a substance abuse treatment boys program, and we have a substance abuse treatment girls program where they're tied to a therapist. They do school with us Monday through Friday, therapy every day, and then Saturday and Sunday they work on didactics on campus here. It's not just a news story. It's a substance abuse is a real problem, especially in low socioeconomic situations. The pills, marijuana, alcohol, vaping, cigarettes, my kids come in. They're not going through any physical withdrawals, but the mental withdrawals are pretty bad. So it's been an interesting ride with those 2 programs. But what I wanted to talk to you tonight about is it took the better part of a year to launch our newest program, which is our LPC program. It's our Life Preparation Center. And with this program, we're getting 13 to 17-year-old males, and we're teaching them 5 different job skills on campus, along with getting their GED or diploma. But the majority, 95% of the residents in our LPC program are severely behind in credits. And they, it goes so far as they ain't even been to school since prior to COVID. And that's what we're seeing with this generation of our adjudicated youth, is it's not even a gaps in learning thing. It's a simple attendance thing. COVID hit, the shutdown happened, and then they were gone. And when I say they're gone, they're on the street, So when they come to me, it takes a lot of, TLC, establishing trust and rapport, just to get them to trust the fact they're back in school. So, seeing that on a daily basis with my team is an incredible feat. But our Life Prep program, which was supposed to launch last April, just launched in August. We are currently at 6 residents. We're going to keep it at 6 residents until we, it be as perfect as it can be before we move up to our licensing number, which is 10. And on campus, it's a real cool program because they're doing everything that our maintenance guy does. They're doing everything our culinary guy does in the kitchen on a daily basis. So they're really, it's almost like a full immersion type program where they're learning these job skills from when they leave us. And then we still have our community program, which is our tuition-based program for surrounding districts for students that are expelled or long-term suspended. Super exciting stuff. A couple programs we got on the back burner right now is our educational attainment program. It kind of acts like a boarding school. If a student doesn't finish with a diploma or a GED with me, the numbers are like 98%. They're going to reoffend within 3 months of leaving. So you got a kid with 2 felonies, they come to me, they do great, finish their program, they're back locked up within 6 months. It's 98%. Numbers don't lie. We do a hell of a job in Michigan compared to like other parts of the country. The only reason I know that is because I'm writing my dissertation on this stuff. So it's amazing that number is so high. But good news is when they do leave our school with a GED or diploma, that 98% drops to less than 10. So like, if we don't listen to that, I don't know what we're doing. So that this whole educational attainment program is we're going to continue their education while they're incarcerated, and we're going to work with the courts to make sure they finish with something. And it's either a diploma, a GED, or at least their junior's year worth of credits. Because I think what we found out is the weight of going back to school after doing a 2-year placement away from home. It's just too much for them, and they just go right back to the streets. It's a very unique thing to watch on a daily basis. But we're looking to launch this in the first of the year, so I'm super excited about that. Keep you guys informed. And then our hip hop and education program. I've been working with Nick Coco from Rochester Recording, South Street Recording in Rochester. Excuse me. Great guy. He was toured with Carlos Santana for years. Big into music. Nice gentleman. He works with youth now, getting their music career started. And we're talking about building a stage on campus. We're talking about a recording studio, and I got some heavy hitters for some fundraising. So I'll keep you guys informed about that as well, because what we do know for a fact is music is a big motivator for my kids. Music and food, go figure, right? But I'm really excited about this. We're looking. This is not going to be till the fall of '24 for launching this program. Academic, school goals, our mission and vision out there, whatever you want to call it, is we want student buy-in, and that's the key. We had truancy was an issue last year because we're a non-secure facility, so a kid can honestly just get up and walk out. We're not going to tackle them or anything like that. Way too old, don't have time for it. But they're in Oxford, so strength is our geography, so you always get picked up real quick, But when they truant, in juvenile court, it adds an automatic 2 years onto their sentence. Lockup, secure facility, ugly place. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to instill in them. I'm trying to let them, don't try to work the system. Let the system work for you. We sell that to them when they get there, and they're going to stay on campus and they're going to do what they need to do to get off probation the correct way. And I could tell you, talked about MSTEP scores, but we're not even there yet. That's how far back we got to go with this critically at-risk population. So we're going to try to reduce truancy by student buy-in. Also, we want to, put a plan in place so they finish something. And I think that goes back to the GED and diploma. Right now I currently have 6 kids on a GED track, and they'll leave with a GED. So we're at 98% pass rate of GED on campus right now. The only 2% we miss is because a kid got released and he didn't have a ride back up here. It was a big mess, but we're doing pretty good from a testing standpoint for that. Our SEL goals this year, our strength is our size. We're a small building, 1 school hall. From an SEL standpoint, I want to do something different. So I've been working with Satchel Pulse, started working with them last year. It's a third party, and it's a coaching model of SEL, where my teachers and the 3 teams I created at the school get to work with a coach once a week through Zoom. And then there's didactics or lessons that go after that you work on a day or two, and then you revisit it next week at the next coaching session. Really cool program. It's super expensive. That's why it's because I'm so small, it's significantly cheaper compared to a whole district. So I'm really eager because I love the data collection tool that Satchel Pulse uses, and I will definitely keep you guys informed of the data we pull from this population of kids. It's a reverse demographic from Oxford Public Schools. We're 96% African American compared to the rest of the district. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the data shows from the screener they give us and the lessons that we do. And then I always got points of pride, right? I wouldn't do this job if I didn't celebrate success. But when I tell you every point of pride we have, it's not all roses and daisies out there. Trust me. I've been in the clinic a few times. You know what I mean? But it's really cool to see kids that have 3 felony convictions on their record. Carjackers, kids with automatic weapons. In essence, these kids live in violence. So, being able to watch them grow and be kids again, that's the reward in itself. But last year alone, we had eight successful GED completers, 6 high school graduates, over 600 credits recovered that were missing. That's a big deal, because these kids, like a kid that don't go to school that much from COVID on, like, that's a really big deal. So I'm super proud of that, and I want to thank my team for that. I got the best team in the world. If anybody's been with, in the CPS world, stuff like that, semi-independent living situations where a kid doesn't have a place to go home to, very, very difficult for the whole package to be wrapped up and passed on. We had 3 successful semi-independent living situations last year. That's a huge deal because they never take felons. So like we have to always like finagle the courts, massage, do all. It's a lot of conversations. But we had 3 successful independent living situations. We had a successful firewood business on campus. Sold over 1,000 little bundles there. So if you guys like to burn stuff up here, come buy firewood from us. Appreciate it. It's right on Drainer Road. Little plug there. And then we have two residents on campus that are very close to completing their GED. And the reason I bring that up is the fact that we're open all year round. So such a big deal. We have a more balanced calendar than traditional year. And then in the summer, our summer school session takes up a big chunk. So that traditional feel of 12-week summer, we cut that, and now we're down to like two-week intersessions during summer. So they got 2 weeks between the summer school session and the traditional calendar, and then 2 weeks after the summer school session until the first semester we start. We started on Monday, so we're able to spread it out. And when I took the place over, they had a 3-month summer, and I realized real quick that they're not going to stay on campus if we have a 3-month summer. So being able to be open all the time is a really big deal for these kids. And that's what our points of pride visualize are. It's my team in the middle there, and then you'll see just random pictures of me with our GED completers, our graduates you see down the right. That's me cooking up there. We got a kitchen in there. I cook for the kids if they're on their highest, we have a PBIS level system at the building. If they're on their highest level, they get a home cooked meal twice a month from me. But I would invite all you guys to come out and see a day at our building, because what we got going on there is, they might have 3, 4 felonies, violent kids, but it's a very, very smooth culture. Everybody knows the process. Everybody bought in, and very rarely I think since we separated the males and females, we had I think less than a dozen discipline referrals for the entire school year last year. So big deal. We had 1 fight last year. When I took it over, we were averaging like 6 fights before third hour. So a lot of good things happening at Crossroads Day School. And I'm just blessed that Oxford Schools gives me the opportunity to be the principal there, and it's just gives us the opportunity to work with this group of kids, because they really need all the help they can get. You got any questions for me?
Guy, so it's been a while since I've been out to Crossroads. Are all your kids reside there? You don't have any day students?
Yeah, full residential.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. And so everybody's now on the north side?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. They sold the south of Drainer property to a housing development.
Yep.
And then just shrunk everything to the
Okay.
north side.
Good. So we can come out there sometime for a tour?
Yeah, absolutely. We did some security upgrades. We got an automated gate at the beginning. We got a pretty cool fenceless pole fence that goes around the whole property. Kids all did that, by the way. Super cool. But just email me and I'll set it up, and you guys come out and see what we do.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Guy, thank you for coming out and sharing the story with us. I just love it. Love hearing your stories, and I think that the work that you and your team do is really important. And I have had an opportunity to come out there, and just how you're a part of that team where every student matters. So thank you to you and your team. You are kind of hidden back there in the woods.
I like hiding in the woods. It's
Yeah.
important.
It's a little quieter. Thank you for the work that you do. I did get to attend one of the graduations. It's just incredible. The opportunities that you provide for these kids, that they just wouldn't have without Crossroads. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any scheduled public comment?
We've had none.
All right. Number 5 in the agenda is the consent agenda. We have the minutes from the August 8, 2023 regular meeting and the bills payable for July 2023. Take a motion. Mary,
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
any support? Colleen? Support. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, number 6, superintendent's report.
We're going to start with the Oxford Addison Youth Assistant Program. Mr. Barlis.
All right. Sorry, Stacy. So I want to introduce Stacy Williams, who is our case manager with Oxford Youth Assistance. And Stacy is a case manager over there. She does a wonderful job. Oxford Addison Youth Assistance has been a district partner for a number of years. And as you'll see tonight as we go through our slides and our presentation, they have increased their services over the last year. Stacy is the first full-time case manager that we've had in order to support our students, our families, and our community. So with that, I told Stacy I would assist with running her slides, and she's going to do the talking. So.
Thank you for having me this evening. Like Todd said, I'm Stacy Williams. I'm the caseworker here at Oxford Addison Youth Assistance. I was placed in this office in September of last year. Previously, I worked in the Waterford office for the past 7 years. So, Todd, if you want to mix. So who we are a volunteer-driven board of directors. We are a nonprofit in the community. We've been in Oxford for the past 60 years. Just a little bit of a history about youth assistance. We started back in Hazel Park in 1953, and a superintendent in Hazel Park and a probate judge decided to collaborate because they were seeing children going into the court system for non-criminal offenses. And what they were noticing is that there was gaps in services and supports to families, that if there was those in those communities, some of those kids might have not seen the court system. And so that's when the Hazel Park started, and then over the 20 years, we are in every single school district in Oakland County. Our mission is to help strengthen families and youth and to prevent juvenile delinquency, child neglect, and child abuse by providing positive alternatives. So we have a unique tri-sponsorship partnership. We're the only one in the United States that has this unique tri-sponsorship, and it's made up of the municipalities and the local school districts in the community. So in Oxford, we have the Township of Oxford, the Village of Oxford, Addison Township, the Village of Leonard, Oxford Community Schools, and the Oakland County Circuit Court Family Division. I'm employed through the court, so they place me here in Oxford to provide the short-term counseling and case management. And funds for my position are made through the Board of Commissioners through the Circuit Court. And then our board of directors, which are volunteers that work and live in the community, they solicit sponsors and donors from local businesses to offset the cost to run our programs that we offer to the community for free. So what are casework services? So like Todd said, I'm full-time. I work Monday through Friday. We are located inside the middle school. Our services are free to any child that resides in the Oxford School District boundaries. They're voluntary, so families can choose to participate if they would like, and we receive referrals from referral sources in the community. Once a family gets referred or a child gets referred to our office, I initiate contact and set up an intake appointment, and I do an extensive family assessment to gauge what are the concerns that that child is having, gather background information about past behavior, focus on parents and family strengths, any barriers that might be part of the referral on why the family is seeking services. And then we develop a treatment plan of goals and objectives to work over through a period of time. And then if there's services that we can't provide, I know a lot of agencies in community connections to link families to supports. So whether that is long-term mental health support for therapy or psychiatric support, evaluations, for any type of like ADHD or depression or anxiety, I can help link those families to those services based on their insurance and help guide them through that process to ensure that they get proper support, and that's ongoing. And then we also provide connect resources for families that might be struggling financially, whether they're really concerned about their rent or their mortgage, or they're getting a shut-off notice about DTE. We can help either Oxford Addison Youth Assistance has funding available to help those families or connect them to community resources in the community. And then we have our own programs that we offer to the community that we might suggest families to participate or offer those supports to them if needed. So like I said, the families get referred to us. So our three main referrals that we work with are the school district, police and prosecutor, and then parents themselves. So school referrals can come in 4 different ways. The first one is prevention. So maybe a parent has reached out to a counselor or an admin and they're concerned about their child. Maybe they're seeing some recent decrease in grades or acting out ordinarily that they might not. They can prompt a prevention referral and kind of be proactive to get that child the help that they might need. The second and third one are truancy and neglect. So those kids that are struggling with attending school consistently, and we're seeing that the child is struggling academically, where grades are not passing, it's really impacting their education. They can refer to us so we can kind of help the family work on barriers. Why is the child not going to school? Are there underlying issues with maybe anxiety or depression or a situation with a peer conflict that the child doesn't want to go to school? We can help with that. And then the last one is incorrigibility. So maybe those children that are getting suspended from school for behavioral concerns, or they get caught vaping in school as a disciplinarian consequence, they can refer to us and we can work with them one-on-one on the reason why they are struggling behaviorally in school. The second one is the police and prosecutor. So the police and prosecutor's office has an opportunity to divert any type of alleged offense to youth assistance. So rather than a child going into the court system for stealing at Myers and getting on their juvenile record, they can divert to us and we will work with the child on that specific thing. And then if there's other things going on with that child, we can help address that as well. And then for those students that are 10 and under that legally can't be charged for a crime like retail fraud or larceny in a building or whatever, they can refer for prevention to address those needs. And then the last one is parents. If there's challenges going on within the home, whether the child is leaving the house without permission, not coming home at night, having behavioral concerns, not following parents' reasonable expectations, we can work with the parents to kind of address those needs as well, whether working on setting up a structure at home, helping the parent with linking them to a parenting class to kind of help strengthen their skills that they need to help address their child's concerns. So that's what our referral process looks like. Anybody can refer a family to our organization. Once the referral gets sent to us, I will reach out to the family to work with them. And then if it's just a parent, they can call our office and schedule an intake appointment with me. If you are a referral and there is some communication throughout the time that the case is open, you usually get generally an intake letter letting you know that an appointment with the family has happened. And then if there's a release of information signed by the parent, there can be ongoing conversations and collaboration to kind of help that child. And then you'll get a closing letter of just stating why the case was closed, and if the family participated or not. And then these are just a little bit of our stats over the last 3 years. You can see in 2022, there was an increase in services. And I don't have a lot of information about previous because I was not here in 22 and 21. But we do have an increase in school truancy concerns. We did have some alcohol and drug-related increase, as well as an increase for mental health support and behavioral concerns. In our middle school, students are the largest population served by our office. So that's a little bit about the casework. That's what I spend the majority of my time in the office with. But I also help our board of directors develop and implement programs for the community. So our board of directors is all volunteers that make up our sponsorships, as well as citizens in the community that want to give back. Our first one is our day and overnight camp. So we can send kids to 7-day, night, overnight camp opportunities. We have partnerships with some camps around Michigan. In 2022, we are able to scholarship 3 students to attend a week-long activity. Summer just ended, so I do have some updated information that we were able to send 5 caseload families to camps this summer. Next is our family and youth education. So we develop parenting programs to strengthen parents' parenting skills, give them more tools in their toolbox to help address concerns that their children might be having. So some of our previous programs that happened prior to COVID was we did mindfulness and movement with all the 2nd grade students in all of the elementary schools. We are looking to bring that back this fall. We've done some internet addiction, technology management, and vaping. We are working on some new programming for this fall. We are partnering with the Early Childhood Center and doing a 5-week Love and Logic parenting program specifically for those families that are enrolled in the district childhood center. We have No Lazy Students that's scheduled for November 6th to help parents overcome challenges that their child might be unmotivated in school or maybe appear to be lazy and not wanting to do the school. Is there other things going on with them? And then we're also looking to do a Girls Stand Strong middle school friendship group this fall as well. And then we have our Mentors Plus program. That's where we connect volunteers in the community with specific family students that might need a positive role model. And so that is a Oakland County program. It is housed out of our central office in Pontiac. We have a caseworker that specifically matches the students that I refer to them that I think would benefit from a one-on-one mentor in the community. And they usually meet about 1 to 2 hours a month and doing different activities out in the community, and we give them tickets to go to the Pistons game or Tigers games, go to an art show, and just give them a student another positive role model in their life. We have our shoplifting prevention. So in the middle school, we have our volunteer that comes out and showcases our homemade shoplifting prevention curriculum, and we did the 7th and 8th graders last year because we were kind of catching up from COVID, and so going forward, every 7th grade class that goes into the middle school will get the hour-long presentation. And then Shop with a Hero, which is usually one of the community's favorite programs. We partner with the Oxford PD to identify families that would benefit from Shop with a Hero. And every December, we take those families to Myers and they get to shop for their siblings and their parents. Our skill building is very similar to our camp committee. That's where we can provide skill building scholarships for families that qualify to participate in any type of recreational or educational program. So those families don't have to be a caseload family. They don't have to have any type of referral sent to youth assistance. Families can just go on our website, fill out the application, provide us with the information of the activity, and then we will pay up to $250 towards that activity. So we're looking at those families that are the free and reduced lunch families that through the FDA guidelines, those type of families. And we awarded 2 scholarships last year. I know since I've been in the office, we're probably up to 15 or 20. That service is very underutilized, and we're working on trying to let families know that that offer is available to them. And then we have just special projects that kind of encompasses other things that are going on. And so I might be working with a family that is struggling with having food on the table. So the board of directors might approve for me to provide some food for families that are struggling. Recently, we just did a paid help a family with their DTE to avoid shut-off. So there's circumstances that families come to us that need that one-time help just to get them over the bridge, and we can do that. We also provided some holiday assistance cards to caseload families last year, and we donated $200 to each of the elementary schools for their holiday giving tree. And then the last program, which is one of my favorites, and I think most, is our youth recognition. So a lot of times we really focus on those at-risk families, really trying to provide support to kids, but this is really special because we want to focus on all kids. What are they doing to give back to their community? How are they, are they volunteering in their classroom? And so we get nominations from school staff, teachers, community members, and we recognize them at a spring event. This year we're doing things a little different, and we're going to do monthly nominations starting in September. That way kids across the board can get nominated, and it's not just a short period of time in the spring when things can be hectic at the end of the year. And then our programs aren't ran without our volunteers. So if we don't have volunteers, our programs don't run. So we're always looking for volunteers to fit any of the programs that I talked to you about today, as well as we always need people to help out with fundraising and grant writing and recruiting new volunteers. So that's it. Any questions?
I have a comment. Thank you so much for bringing this to us and bringing your message to the community too. I'm hoping that more people will know that you're there and the services that you have. I love that youth recognition event. I've been able to go to a few of them, and those kids are just amazing, and the stories that the people have to share about these kids and what they're doing for their fellow students and their community, just because that's who they are. It's really great, so thank you. Keep up the good work. Thanks.
I just want to say, looking at the numbers, thank you so much for being here full-time. It's marvelous to see these kinds of services extended to so many more kids.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is going to be very fast, and we're not going to go through it page by page, but you have it electronically. As you know, we brought you an update on what the recovery plan had accomplished up to this moment in time. This is now, where are we continuing, where are we enhancing, where are we adding. You'll notice the format's just a little bit different. We consolidated some sections. We reorganized how the information is presented to you. But the most important thing I want to say about it is it's becoming a living document. So we're going to be adapting it. It's going to be situational. We're going to be working with our buildings initially to see where is this fitting, where is this not, are there things we need to add, are there things we overlooked. We're going to obviously be working with our district safety committee. Also, there may be items coming from there that we're going to be putting and placing over time. We are very fortunate that the National Center for School Safety out of University of Michigan has consented to review our recovery plans, and we're going to be incorporating some of their suggestions and recommendations as they go forward with that review. And then, of course, anything that comes to us from our guidepost reports are also going to be inserted. So the only thing I want to say is this is the beginning. You'll see it change over time as we adapt it as necessary going forward. And that's the extent of my report. I don't expect you have questions tonight because you haven't had a chance to really study it. but maybe you have, and not aware of it.
When does University of Michigan?
The National Center for School Safety,
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
When do they start?
they already have it. We have their initial review. We're now looking at what the recommendations are to see where we can incorporate it.
Oh, wonderful. All right, any other questions from the board? All right, look forward to reading it. Yeah. All right, item number C.
Yes, Allison.
Good evening. I'm going to give you our typical beginning of the year school safety update. And so I've broken this into a couple of categories. I have changes for this school year, I have enhancements for this year, continuation of services for this year, and then additionally we'll talk about what training will be offered at the district level. So changes that are coming for this school year is, we've discussed this with the board already, but DriftNet, we're looking to get that installed by the end of this month. What this will do, based on conversations that we've had within my department with Dr. Markovich, the guidepost recommendations is looking at 24/7 weapons detection and that 24/7 security for our buildings. This will also be an upgrade for our visiting management system, allow for the silent alarms in each classroom, which currently is not required by state law. We just have the 1 point, like our mass notification, but we do know Alyssa's law it's coming. There's 14 states that have already adopted that, so we're trying to get ahead of the curve on that, as well as allowing for geofencing. So if a kid was to elope and leave our campus, we would get notified of that, as well as vape detection in our bathrooms and locker rooms. Another change that will be coming this year is students in 6th through 12th grades will be required to visibly wear their IDs during the school day. We have purchased a lanyard for every child, but they are more than welcome to wear their own. Ours is navy, so they may not enjoy that, but we wanted to furnish them, but they are able to do that. That allows us to know who belongs on our campus. For people who travel across the district, it's an easy visual cue for us. The same for staff. We're grateful for Human Resources for purchasing these lanyards, but again, like the students, you're free to wear your own. We have some people who prefer to wear on their belt loops, so that will be an easy way that we know, again, who belongs. We've started already. I had my first BTAM meeting today at the high school, but my department will be going around to each campus every month and having behavior threat assessment management meetings. This is time for us to be able to review any of the data that has been done over the course of the month. Like this year, we reviewed last year's data, provide training, give time to calibrate, let's do some tabletop exercises, and really let's talk about what trends are occurring either on the campus, across the district. And that does include every single member that is eligible to be part of the BTAM team. So at the high school, there's about 25 people in that meeting. And we're going to carve out that time to do that monthly to ensure we have that ongoing conversation with that. And then this year, our Daisy, our weapons detection dog, will be able to travel to all of the schools, primarily housed at the high school, but will be traveling to all of the schools as needed. Additional changes for this school year is we have some people who have been trained in digital threat assessment and advanced digital threat assessment right now. The secondary deans of students, as well as the district technology and security technician, have received the basic course. Jim and I have received both the basic and the advanced already. I've spoken to the deans and to our district technology and security technician. They want to continue on with that. What that allows us to do is to be able to, when we have any sort of digital threat, be able to use tools that lawfully will allow us to dig deeper in a way that we would need to should any threat come in, where we have to look at pictures or social media in a way that's not going to violate any sort of privacy issues, because there are ways for us to use those tools. So the better that we can be informed, and as Dr. Melissa Reeves says, the better we can collect the dots helps us to connect the dots. We also have an incident response plan. We are the only school district in the state of Michigan that has this. What this is it's our cybersecurity plan if there's any sort of cybersecurity breach. Sash has done an excellent job of making sure that he is up to date on this. But also making sure that we are all up to date as much as possible on any sort of ransomware attacks, because we are seeing more and more school districts are getting affected by this. We have additional practices. We're working with
Todd's department to be able to ensure that we're a trauma-informed organization as much as possible, because the key point of any sort of threat assessment or suicide risk assessment is that management piece. How are we addressing the whole child and their needs? It's not a one-and-done situation. And how are we doing so in a lens that shows that we have any sort of trauma-informed training, whether it be trust-based relational intervention, youth mental health first aid, different things like that. Laura Azzoni, our recovery coordinator, and I have been working on some different ways that we can make that part of our monthly BTAM meetings, but then additionally working with Todd's department to ensure that counselors and FSLs are doing their best to be trauma-informed as well. And as you know, based on the rather substantial approval you gave, we're improving our cell phone coverage and internet connection throughout our district. I think that's a huge win for us. I know it's not here yet, but I had a very lengthy email for an update today, and it's supposed to be done by the end of next week in this building, which I know will make everyone here very happy. So enhancements for this coming school year is we are going to continue to use the threat assessment model that we started last year. It is the NTAC model. It's what the Secret Service recommends. And that is the model once we switch to Navigate. That's what also follows that. For our suicide risk assessment, we'll be using the Columbia Protocol. We, as bullying becomes the topic that we keep talking about and wanting to get to 0 bullying instances as a way to better track that, some of our technology department helped develop an online bullying investigation database. And so we're able to house things electronically, which will help us be able to track that data, which then allows us during those BTAM meetings to address some of those issues. And Bridget Bittner, our restorative practices and bullying coordinator, we've already been working on some ways to be able to be more proactive in that, so we're not being reactive. And again, that goes with reviewing data to identify any trends or needs or successes that we have in regards to discipline, threats, suicide, and bullying, because it's a constant cycle of wanting to improve. We've updated our emergency operation plans as you approved in April, and we are using the Michigan template, combining that with Prepare materials as Oakland County has adopted Prepare as the model that they want us to use, and then we also want to use other agency recommendations. Additional enhancements is we will be completing all state required drills, but in addition to that, there will be a drill observation form completed this year. That will be done either by myself, by Jim, Mr. Wolf, Ms. Konja Collins, to be appropriately with what their school is, so that we're able to then do an after action report right after the drill to find out anything, again, any trends that we see at their school level, at the district level, and be able to address those immediately. We will be conducting annual vulnerability assessments for each building. We're using one comprehensive assessment tool. It was developed using 7 different tools through the Department of Homeland Security, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, the Texas School Safety Center, Partner Alliance for Safer Schools, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency, the Prepare curriculum, and the National Institute of Justice. Currently, the state of Michigan only requires that we use the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency document. I didn't feel that that was a comprehensive enough building or vulnerability assessment, and instead of having to pick and choose different parts, let's just make one large one. For this school year, we will be doing that in August, September, but moving forward, that will be done in June, just so that if there are any structural things that need to be addressed by our maintenance department, they have the summer to be able to do that. And that will just be part of our ongoing as we develop our quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily checks that our security team will be doing. Continuation of services for this coming school year. We have our partnership with the Oakland County Sheriff's Office with our SROs housed at the middle school and the high school, and we have both of them here this evening. So if Deputy Barnes, Deputy Rafalski would like to stand up. Deputy Barnes is at the middle school. Deputy Rafalski is housed at the high school. We also have Sergeant Meza and Lieutenant Patterson. They are our substation commander and second in command. So we just wanted to give face to some of the names. They do a great job, and I'm very grateful for the partnership that we have with them. Kids have developed great relationships with them. They know that if I'm calling them in the middle of the night, it's for an important thing, and they pick up their phone and they do everything that they can for us. And I would like to say thank you to all 4 of you, but specifically our 2 that are here every day, because kids are kids, they're fun. So we do appreciate all the work that you do. We also have, and wanted to introduce some of our Fortis group. We see them at our board meetings and around our campuses. We have Greg Hughes. He is the supervisor for our account. We also have Mario Bastinelli. There he is. He is the co-owner of Fortis Group. He is a lieutenant and the public information officer of the Sterling Heights Police Department as well right now. So there's some more faces to names that you see. We will continue, even though we will have DriftNet, we're going to run our security systems redundantly for this first year as we implement a new system. So Evolve will still be at the middle school and the high school. We will continue to have Zero Eyes district-wide. We will continue to require clear backpacks for students in grades 6 through 12, and we will have exterior doors secured with designated entry points. In addition, we will continue to monitor our exterior and interior door numbering. We've done that. We've moved some signs around just to ensure that they're in the proper place and they're numbered correctly. We will continue to advocate for the use of OK to Say, maintaining our AED fleet and training our staff on that, as well as using Gaggle and GoGuardian, as well as our after-hour teams that we have for both of those. We will continue to increase securities for special events as needed and use our night locks. Training that will be offered for the 2023-2024 school year is through part of it is through our Vector training, which is the videos, and there's quizzes at the end of it. So new and returning employees, I'm not going to read all of them to you. And then for new employees specifically, they have additional trainings that they need to take. So there are those.
Allison, we might just want to add that we have added the bullying, the threat assessment, and the suicide awareness.
Yes.
As well as we are adding, or are you going to get to that later? The
Okay.
mandatory reporting?
I did not have put that one on there, but we did have the additional mandated reporting
We added
on there.
mandatory reporting.
Oh, that is child abuse. It's the third one down. I apologize. So then additionally, we have the ALICE training, depending on what year you're in. I've been taking it for lots of years, so I'm in year 5. That's the video that I review, and then eventually you go back and you have your refresher courses. We have behavioral threat assessment management training for all BTAM members. There is the full one for new to a BTAM, but then we'll also offer refresher trainings. Although we will have the monthly BTAM meetings, sometimes people need a little more than that 1 hour a month with me. And so being able to look at our schedule and see who needs a little bit more guidance and support, we're able to provide that. We will offer CPR, first aid, and AED training. There are some FEMA courses that our crisis team members and our safety security department will take. Then Navigate 360 training, that's for our BTAM team members. We have Prepare Workshops 1 and 2. Those are your crisis team members, and select other people who have different jobs should there be any sort of multi-hazard emergency. And then new to this year, we'll have threat assessment, suicide risk assessment for our support staff. And so that's taking that 8-hour BTAM training and condensing it down to 2 hours. Dr. Melissa Reeves and I worked on that this summer because one didn't exist before. We've already given that training to transportation. I have it scheduled with food services, and we'll work on scheduling the rest of the support team departments so that everyone has familiarity with what threat assessment and suicide risk assessment is. Training that we're able to provide within our district is Jim Vernier is a certified ALICE trainer. We are both certified in behavioral threat assessment management. I am certified in Prepare Workshop 1, as well as the standard response protocol and the standard reunification method through the I Love You Guys Foundation. And so we are able to provide that to district staff as needed and not be dependent on other outside people and pay additional funds for that. And that is everything. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
The name tags.
Yes.
So, obviously, I think that's important and it's good in theory, but certainly, like, we have name tags at my place of work, but if I don't have it, no one's ever going to say anything. So how is that going to be enforced as far
You're going
as...
to get a 4x3 sticker
Okay.
that says OMS student or OHS student, and it will be date stamped and initialed by the administrator or school employee that gives it to you.
Okay. And then it'll have to be visible, and if
Mhm.
somebody's walking the halls without it, we're training staff to send them to the principal, like the
To the
office,
office.
or...
Mhm. And it's gonna be a learning process.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not gonna work perfectly right away, but it is an important tool. When you think of me, I go to every campus and I don't know every kid, and it's a quick, easy way to ensure that our kids are safe.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Allison, I just want to thank you because this is incredibly comprehensive in the sense that I think you started 8 months ago. There's been a lot of updates, improvements. Obviously, we're going to continue to, as a district, to reevaluate quite frequently, and that's what I heard out of your presentation today, that this is not just a static plan on a piece of paper, that it's fluid and it's a living document and a living plan, that the district is taking safety and security and going to be leaders in it from what we're looking at. I don't think as many districts have all this. So.
No, the state of Michigan still does not require threat assessment or suicide risk assessment, and at this time, 88%, including new employees, are trained in threat assessment. So there's about 10 people I have left to train. That's where that 12% comes in. We have 74% of our staff, including new employees who I haven't had an opportunity to train yet, who have already received Navigate training. We have 68% of our crisis team members who are already trained in at least Prepare Workshop 1. So we're far beyond other districts in this area.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Since I'm full of comments tonight. Thank you, Dr. Williman. I really appreciate, and I know we all appreciate the time and energy and care that you and your team have put into this. And I will second Aaron's comments too about it's important. It's great to have a plan, and it's important that we're continually following up and learning and growing. And I appreciate that stance moving forward, because the environment is forever changing, as you know.
School safety is in its infancy, so.
Right. So thank you to you and your team. Really appreciate all your time and effort.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead, moving down the agenda. The next item is the Oxford Middle School 8th grade field trip to Washington, D.C. In November of '23, it was brought to the board. I think the last meeting I was absent, unfortunately, but I will look for a motion. Okay, go ahead, Amanda.
Move to approve the 8th grade field trip to Washington, D.C., November 8th through the 11th, 2023, as presented.
And do I have support? Mary, is there any discussion? No. I think just the biggest point to note that they are flying this year versus doing the bus, which I'm sure parents and administrators are super excited about. But other than that, it looks pretty standard as to every other year. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, item B on the agenda is the Field of Interest Endowment Fund Agreement between Four County Community Foundation and Oxford Community Schools, and I'll let Dr. Markovich lay a little bit of the groundwork for this, and then we will take a motion.
So this allows the district and the permanent memorial committee that the district established to work with and use the Four County Community Foundation as the 501c3 fiduciary agent for any financial arrangements going forward with the permanent memorial. So there are two motions. One is to establish the initial relationship between those entities, and the second one then is to, going forward, once the committee becomes an organization of itself, then we can transfer the assignment of responsibilities and obligations to the newly formed organization.
So if I have someone who's willing to make the motion, then we have discussion, then that's, all right, thanks. Thanks, Mary.
Move to designate the superintendent as the signatory on behalf of the Board of Education to enter into a Field of Interest Endowment Fund Agreement between Four County Community Foundation and Oxford Community Schools for the purpose of establishing a fund to construct and maintain a permanent memorial in the Oxford community to honor those impacted by the November 30, 2021 Oxford High School shooting. In parentheses, a purpose within the scope of Code Section 170C2B, end parentheses.
Do I have a support? Amanda? Any discussion? All right, All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and then we have a second motion, as Dr. Markovich said, if we could. Do you want to read that one too, Mary?
I can, I certainly will. Further move that once the current Permanent Memorial Committee becomes its own legal entity, separate from the district will assign the Field of Interest Endowment Fund Agreement to that legal entity, along with continuing obligations and decision-making responsibilities.
Do I have a support? Mike? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, item 7C, plans to expand the board and community dialogue. All of you saw in the board packet, there was a proposal, something that I know we've talked about before, in expanding dialogue between our community members. It feels sometimes public comment occurs and we can't respond during the time due to some of the processes and policies of the board, so we want to expand and have more robust dialogue with members of the community. I want to thank Danny and Dr. Markovich for doing some of the baseline research behind what some other practices are within the scope of school boards and their communities. And the two proposals, I think personally, my opinion is we do both to start and see kind of where they land. But the first one is a board coffee chat with community members. So one time a month, two board members, superintendent would meet at a place, not at a school building. It would maybe be at a coffee shop somewhere in town or a restaurant. And we would be able to have an open dialogue with that, with some ground rules, and we would have resources for families. So if families need to receive any type of information, we would try to have as much stuff as we could available to them at that time, if not follow up within 24 hours and getting them those resources on who to call, what resources are available, what directions to take, and then also just to establish relationships. The second proposal in there was a key communicator group, and that would be a very targeted group of individuals, whether they be realtors, pastors, or other business owners that are in the Oxford community. They would meet quarterly with the superintendent, and this would be a way for them to provide feedback to Oxford Community Schools and things that they may be hearing from individuals coming and going from the district, and they're, and making us aware and or responsive to those, and so we can get ahead of some of those conversations and be supportive to our community members in a more holistic fashion in multiple venues. And I don't know if you wanted to add, 'cause I just saw you
I just
light.
wanted to add the key communicator would be, again, with 2 or 3 board members and the superintendent.
Yeah. So with that, I thought I would leave it up to you guys to kind of, we've been talking about it. I just want to see what your feelings, thoughts are. And then I think we would probably need to establish when we would start doing this, once you guys.
Go. Thanks.
Insist.
I think these are great. I think they're a great idea. I think that, just in this little bit of time that I've sat here, I mean, I can feel the frustration. I can hear the frustration from the community, and not just the people that come to the board meetings, but other people that reach out to me, and I'm sure reach out to all of you. So I think these are really a great first step. A long time ago, we used to have key communicators. And it was before I was even on the board, so I was a key communicator because I think I was a PTO mom or something. And it was very helpful. It was very beneficial to the superintendent not only got information to the key communicators, but then as key communicators, we could get information quicker, I guess, to the superintendent saying, hey, this is what I'm hearing, give you a heads up, this is what's going on. So I think those are a really good first step for us as a board.
James?
I like it. I know coming onto the board and stuff and sitting through the different meetings and stuff and listening to people speak and stuff and even being on this side, the policies that we have in place don't allow for that kind of free flow of communication and stuff. And I think it's a great way is if someone's, in the course of a conversation, obviously, us being there, we're not committing to anything, but being able to have that dialogue back and forth and to actually ask questions or to understand a bit better, because as people come up and speak, they say stuff and I've had questions or, things and you kind of seek them out or try to get a better understanding and stuff. I'm just appreciative. It makes it more of a board of the community, not just us sitting here listening and doing stuff, and it just, you know, builds that back.
Any other comments or thoughts?
Yeah, so I'm all for it, obviously. I think the sooner the better would be preferable in getting it started. As far as timeline goes, we can look at schedules, but I would like to start this as soon as possible. It's been in the works for quite some time, so whatever the rest of the board is good with as far as schedule goes, I would say once a month to start out with. I'm all on board. I think it'll help our community. I think it'll help us have a better understanding. And you know, we've all been on both sides of the table, and it can be very frustrating. So I think that I think this is much needed. So that's all.
I have one thing. As we move forward and start doing this, I know not everybody's available during the day, so I want to make sure that we're flexible, you know, some daytimes, some night times. That way we can accommodate our community, because again, you know, I have a day job, but some people work afternoons and nights, so that we're open to everybody, so everybody has an opportunity to come through and be able to talk.
I think we're gonna have to probably kinda shoot some, or just throw some dates out, like spaghetti noodles against the wall, see what kind of participation we get and get feedback as we go through, whether or not, you know, Thursday evenings work. We know sports season kicks off, and a lot of families are obligated a lot of nights. So, you know, I don't know about you guys, I also have a full-time job and kids who do sports in this district. So I would even propose, if for Vicky, but even a Sunday once in a while, if that works into people's schedules, because I can commit more time on weekends than I can most nights, just due to sporting events right now. But so I would propose, and I don't know if we need to do a vote parliamentarian on said thing, but if it's something that we're
Well, we could have a motion and a vote to move forward, but not necessarily, to move forward to have, if we have agreement from the board to ask Vicki to move forward to help us set up a plan for establishing this. Because I think before we talk about setting up dates, we need to be sure that we know what we're doing before we're scheduling dates. I'm not saying that to slow anything down, but it's never a good idea just to start something without a plan. So it would be appropriate to have a motion to ask the superintendent to move forward with some kind of structure for these types of events.
sounds good. I think it'd be pretty easy to set up.
I'll make it.
All right.
I'm gonna wing it because it's not on the paper here, so I'd like to make a move. What's that?
Nice and slow, please.
Nice and slow.
Because she has to get it all down.
Like to make a motion to ask the superintendent to start the formal process of getting a community communication process in place for us, for the board members.
Got it, Angela?
Is that good, Angela?
All right, good. Do I have support? Amanda? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. We'll look forward to starting that very soon with a plan.
Yes, we will get on that. I think the community coffees might be the easier thing to begin, maybe as soon as September, as long as we can find a place and get people there. The key communicators is a little more intricate in that you need to identify your groups. I'll get you ideas on that. If you have ideas, you get them back to me. And then, of course, you have to get the directory of all of those particular people in all those groups, and then you have to try to find times of the day that work for them. So that might be something that doesn't get kicked off until maybe October-ish, but roughly, don't hold me to it. The other thing I want to say is this will give you an opportunity to communicate in a very different format. These meetings that we have here every 2 Tuesdays a night, these are your formal business meetings. And the whole purpose of having them is for you to conduct your business. Not that you don't want to hear from your public, you do, but these meetings are about conducting business. These meetings are not about engagement. So these other 2 venues will be where that engagement can take place without interfering with you getting the business done. The only way you can pass motions and look at all the programs and study the budget and all those other things that go into the business of the school have to be protected at your business meeting. So I think this is, thank you, I'm looking forward to working on this, and I too have done this in other districts where I've been, and so we'll get you on the road as soon as we can.
All right, great. All right, curriculum and instruction, Mr. Wolf?
Good evening. I'm here to seek approval for the district's 2023-2024 course catalog. Throughout the year, whenever there's a board-approved new course or a program, that gets updated to each building's course catalog so that when in the springtime, students select their courses for the following year, they have access to those approved changes. We come together each year annually, and with the help this year of Sean Marshall, our data specialist, we combine each of those updated course catalogs from each building into a district course catalog. And then with that, there are some additional edits with page numbers, table of contents, names of staff and personnel, maybe a tweak in a flow chart based on a course adoption or change. And so that's what today is for, is combining those formally to do our annual seek of approval for the 23-24 school year.
And I brought an example of what it looks like and how much it weighs in hard copy form, because I know you've got it electronically. And these are all things that the board, has already approved, so.
All right. Thank you. With that being said, anyone want to make the motion? Colleen?
Sorry. Move to approve the 2023 to 2024 Oxford Community School District course catalog as presented.
And do I have support? Mary? And any discussion? And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, school and safety operations for the auto shop outside security door purchase that was presented to us at the last meeting. I don't think we have to rehash it again. If we want to take a motion and. James?
Move to approve the purchase of exterior rolling grille doors from Pioneer Door for the amount of $52,455.
And support, Amanda? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thanks. All right, number 10 in the agenda, unscheduled public comment. Just a reminder, when you come up here, there's a 3-minute mark. James will be running the timer. You'll have a green light while it's time to talk, yellow flashing, I think when you have 30 seconds left, and then red, and when it beeps, just go ahead and try to finish up. We won't cut you off, so. All right. Is everybody ready? All right, good. Shirley Tonzak.
Good evening. I'm speaking tonight after watching the entire Miller hearing. I wonder how many board members watched it, but this is not the place to ask. I watched it not out of morbid curiosity, but because I felt a moral obligation to bear witness to the pain and suffering of the families and of the children who were murdered and the hundreds of others who were traumatized by the event. I believe board members had an official obligation to watch it. If you didn't watch it because you would be too uncomfortable, I'm very disappointed. If we cannot accept our history because it makes us uncomfortable, we have no hope of making the future better. For me, the most important testimony of the hearing came from Christy Gibson Marshall. When shots rang out, Christy ran into the hallway and toward the shooter, whom she saw was carrying a gun. She recognized him, but did not realize he was the shooter and thought perhaps he had just picked up the gun. She called his name. She asked if he was all right. He saw her. He walked past her and he did not shoot her. Why? Because he had a relationship with her. She had been the principal of his elementary school, and she had been kind to him as she was to all the students in her care. He had experienced her caring, and because of that, he spared her life. To me, this emphasizes the key to recovery and moving forward, and is exemplified in the building of the 42 Strong movement. The idea of high school students reaching out as mentors to younger students and being mentored themselves by adults blossoms into a caring community in which all beings are respected and supported. Metal detectors, surveillance cameras, and armed personnel may be necessary for the current moment, but to be the focus of our recovery misses the important point. Learning does not take place in an atmosphere of fear. Kids in crisis do not need barricaded fortresses. They need caring adults and peers. We need to spend our time and money providing a community of caring, competent adults who will model respect and inclusion so that young people can feel safe and supported by the system. So as we go forward, I would like to hear support for the vision and implementation of programs like 42 Strong. For every suggestion of installing gun safes and providing body armor, I want to hear support for more mental health services and programs that support the acceptance of all students. A metal detector might have kept the gun out of school, but it would not have kept the shooter from feeling so helpless and angry that he wished harm on everyone else, except the one person with whom he had a connection and a relationship. Thank you.
Andrea Jones.
She's a tough act to follow. Thank you. I agree with Shirley. We need to start looking at programs that connect the adults with the students in this district. I think that was very evident by what we saw in this trial. We had a student that was screaming out for attention from everyone around him and just didn't get it. And so it was preventable. One connection could have made the difference there. So I think I love Shirley's idea. If we're going to introduce gun safes for every program that we offer that's a structural security measure, we need to offer an SEL program or a mentoring program in addition with that, and it should be equally matched. I agree with that. I do want to talk about the recent threat that we had because we're going into school on Thursday and we haven't had an update this week. So where are we at on this? Is this still considered an open, active investigation? Have we closed it? If we did, what was the result? We understand that there were search warrants and whatnot being issued, so it would be nice to have an update where we are on that. As a community, we do understand that you can't give us every detail. We understand that. We are reasonable, but we can't accept vague. So as parents, it's important that these communications are put out to us, first of all, before we drop our children off for events. That's a big one, because when you don't do that, you're taking away our parental right, because they are our kids, and it's our decision when it's safe to give them to you in your care. So the community outreach that we saw this last week has to do a lot with that. We are, as parents, going to be on edge. Our kids are on edge. Something very tragic here happened, and it's not something we're ever soon going to forget, if ever. And you want to have that trust, you want to have that relationship, that's earned. So that's where we need to be. It's not unrealistic to expect that 2 years after we've had a mass shooting here, that those protocols should have already been in place and been followed. We should not be doing that now, and It's so disheartening after all the time and energy many parents have spent emailing and coming here and speaking to find out that we still haven't done that yet. So you can't expect us to have that trust and respect for you at this point when we were already told that had been done. That's where the outrage comes. That's where the frustration and the anger comes from. This is what distrust looks like. So if you want to see that change, once again, you hold the power, not the community. We get 3 minutes to come in here and complete a whole thought about everything that's happened, and that's just simply not enough time. You guys hold the ability to respond. You have the ability to reach out to the community, have communication. If you don't like the narrative, change it.
Thank you. Bobby Roop.
Certainly agree with what they both had to say. I do find it ironic that I did submit a request to speak during the scheduled portion. Apparently wasn't received, and I wanted to speak on behalf of, I did send an email directly to Vicki and copied Heather on it. I wanted to speak on community dialogue. That's what's ironic about that. So you guys put together this plan to expand the board community dialogue. I just want to read a couple things real quick. So it says the best way to cultivate a connected culture between boards of education and their communities is through ongoing strategies that engage all stakeholders. The next line is super important. The board must ensure that all voices are heard. Again, ironic that I didn't get approved to speak earlier. It goes on to say board meetings themselves are informative, as the board does the business of managing the district in open session and of course provides opportunity for public comment. I love the idea of coffee with the community, the key communicator groups as well. Something that was in the recovery plan, page 9, talks about ensure our plan reflects the needs and priorities of our community at large, leading to an environment of trust, empowerment, and ownership by all. Promote transparency in the actions of our plan to gain support, commitment, and ensure sustainability. So what I wanted to kind of talk about is this word here. It says the board must ensure that all voices are heard. You guys hear what people have been saying. You can't avoid hearing something, right? You've been hearing for the last 2 years concerns from many people in the community. The difference is hearing and listening. You know what the difference between the two are? Hearing is just is something entering and processing a sound, right? Listening is the intent and action of paying attention to what that sound is. Okay, so there's a difference. Hearing, let me give you an example. My wife says a lot of things. She gives me a lot of requests. I'm not always listening to what she says, and that causes some animosity between the two of us, right? Because she says things directly into my ears, and I hear them, but I'm not listening. Then later she asks, did I do that thing? What thing? I didn't hear you say anything. Well, I said it to you. You were paying attention. No, I wasn't. So that's the difference here. We're saying things. You guys aren't listening to them. And how do I know you're not listening? Is because action's not being taken. My wife asks me to take the garbage out. I didn't hear her say it. The garbage doesn't get taken out, right? It's pretty easy to compare the two. Buck had some great examples and ideas last week, or 2 weeks ago. Are you taking action on those things? Are you listening to those things? In my world, in business, we have an open issues log that we track. I don't know if you guys have those sorts of things in your line of business, but we track open issues. Why do we do that? That way we can manage against those things. So I wanted to say this earlier when you talked about this, because I encourage you, as you're in the process of putting together these teams, as you're putting together this process of community dialogue, that you might track the open issues. When people come up and say things, write them down and then track them. Does that sound good?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Donna Blake.
This is a great follow-up to Bobby. At the last meeting on August 8th, my husband and I read this unacceptable contract that this board had committed to between Guidepost and Varnum. I have additional copies if people need copies. To summarize the unacceptable parts of this contract, Varnum has complete and total control of all the information given to Guidepost. Varnum can burn or destroy any information he does not want the public to see. Varnum has the total authority to include in all published reports what he wants to and to exclude what he doesn't want. The final report coming out this fall will be a total sham to protect this Oxford School Board and its institution. That is the result of the first Varnum report previously presented to us already. When we spoke to Brad from Guidepost 2 weeks ago, he appeared to be very apathetic about the contract, saying, "Oh yeah, I wrote it. The contract can be redone." Vicki commented that she never saw the contract before. There are many of us in this community that would like a follow-up, a response, as to what is the status of rewriting a more acceptable contract that is between this school board and Guidepost, whereas the truth, and nothing but the truth, will be published, as well as the destruction of any information would be strictly prohibited. I realize that there isn't a dialogue component to this board meeting. However, including it in the next board meeting with an update of a revised, more appropriate contract between this school board and Guidepost would be much appreciated. Thank you.
Danielle Krozak?
I will echo what Shirley said and also Andrea. I want to reiterate and express my concern for the way the threat was handled last week as well. When someone threatens to sexually assault, rape, kill, and shoot up the school, that's not a prank. Whether or not they had the means or the true intention, I don't care. The situation that we are in requires serious attention. This was a threat to all students, not just the 5 that were contacted, and to the teachers and to the staff. The 5 that I know about. The response was not transparent, it was not timely, nor was it trauma informed. As a parent that contacted the administration directly on November 11th, 2021, expressing concerns of safety and potential escalation of an issue, to only be dismissed, for me, this was triggering. The emails were triggering. It feels like we take a step forward and then we take 2 steps back. You know, preparing my daughter for school one day is exciting, and the next day she's on her bed crying. So this is serious, and the way that the threat was handled last week was not okay. And we're preparing our kids for school on Thursday, and it's not okay. Last year on the first day of school, there was a threat, same thing, with a gun. So we need some understanding. We have one board member sitting there today that had a child in the school at the time. I hope that you can empathize. I'm not saying that nobody else does. I'm just saying this is hard. This is really hard. I'm asking the board specifically, to make sure that the administration puts in place the processes, the protocol, the communication that we need as parents who have gone through this tragedy, that we need to feel comfortable to take our kids to school. We need that. It's overdue. I want to comment on the Guidepost and Varnum contract. I raised this issue in August of 22. I've raised it multiple times since. This contract has been seen by all the board members here, should have been seen by all the board members here, as well as the former superintendent, as well as Vicki. I spoke to Vicki about it when I met with her. And I have asked repeatedly for an amendment to this contract for the same reasons. This was an opportunity to rebuild trust with the community. You represent the community. The contract with Varnum and or Guidepost is about the community and what we're asking for. And we're asking for an independent third-party review of what happened. That contract includes no expectation of any deliverables. Nothing. Nothing. There's nothing expected in there. There's no statement of work. There's nothing. So Guidepost is willing to amend. I've offered at least 3 times. I've sent emails on this. I'm willing to help. It might be too late. It might be too late. But that was an opportunity missed. The contract is awful. Really quick, one last thing. The latest quote on the school district's website is, "You must do the thing you think you cannot." You must do the thing you think you cannot. We think we cannot stand up and take accountability and responsibility for what happened, but we can. We're choosing not to. It's not too late.
Thank you, Danielle. Mark Gillum?
All right, so the investigation, I guess now that we know you hired a company through Varnum to investigate November 30th and the events leading up to it, that your attorney is telling the employees of the school to not cooperate with your investigation. How do you expect us to find anything productive when the employees of the district are being told to shut up by your employee? And I'm just curious, how do you justify writing a check to him? Heather's not here tonight, right? She writes the checks now. So are you happy with this service? Do you feel like it's doing justice to our community? And maybe you could talk about this at a later time, like when we're done talking or comments from the board. You want to schedule more times that are away from the public microphone for us to talk to you. Why don't you come 15 minutes early to this meeting? Why don't you stay 15 minutes later and save all our time and effort so we don't have to go to another meeting? And I just think it's more games until you guys start putting up and showing us that you're serious in changing. One of the indicators for me was I went to the memorial groundbreaking and I only saw one board member there. I was like, where are the board members? Why wouldn't you be here? So maybe I missed you. So if you were there and I missed you, maybe you could just raise your hand if you were there. Oh, we got one. Okay. So I don't know what else you had important to take care of that day, but so public engagement, we're here, you're here, but you don't want to talk to us because you could. So it's just more games. I'm not coming to any of your secondary meetings. That's ridiculous. You're wasting our time. And we see exactly what you're doing. So we're back to your attorney. Are you in charge of your attorney or is he in charge of you? Because I'm trying to figure out why are your attorneys running our school? And I know there's a good portion of the population that want to be told what to do, but there's also a whole group that would like to choose for themselves. And we're going to have to find a way to accommodate both groups. You claim that you have a zero tolerance mandated reporting, but yet your employees, your principal on November 30th didn't know anything about that. His employees, the people who handled the child on November 30th didn't know that they should let the law enforcement community know that we're already positioned in the building. And now we're paying security guards to give Mr. Wolf an escort up to the microphone because he's afraid. Give me a break. Why don't you make the children your priority and put them above the administration? Because we're going to persist and we're going to keep going until that's the case, and we're not feeling the love right now. We don't feel that way. And if you're really serious, now that we know your investigation's a fraud, I think public request for Attorney General Nessel to come in and address what's going on behind the scenes here needs to happen.
Thank you, Mark. All right, moving on to scheduled activities. As noted, the first day of school is on Thursday. A lot of our sports have already started too. I've seen a lot of their schedules posted on Facebook and other spots. So, number 12, administrative clarification, Dr. Markovich.
I want to clarify that I did follow up with Guidepost and with Varnum on the contract issue. I was informed by them this very same thing that the Guidepost Representative Brad said 2 weeks ago, and repeated to me that there is only one report, that the report is going to involve all the information that they have gathered from the prosecutor's office, from depositions, from interviews, from thousands of documents that we've sent them, and that the contract between them and Varnum is a boilerplate contract that Guidepost uses with all of their accounts. That's what I was told. And I wanted to inform you of that. I can ask, Brad said the same thing, if you recall, at the microphone. I believe he said the same thing to people who were talking to him after the meeting. He said the same thing to me the following day. I will ask him to put that in writing.
It's for the board to do, not for the superintendent.
That's all.
All right. Is
And-
he open to the amendments then,
No.
or no?
Well, if you want to hold it up for another 2 or 3 weeks beyond where we are.
So they can't do those two at the same time?
He didn't feel any amendment was necessary. There would be nothing that would change. You want one report. You want a viable report. You want it delivered as soon as possible. You want to make sure that they include all information. You want to make sure that that the district has no ability to filter anything that comes through, and he has already given us that. And if you'd like him to give that to you in written form, I think he will.
I would, thank you. That'd be great.
Okay.
Any final board comments?
I'm just looking forward to Friday night football and Hawaiian shirt night. Go Wildcats.
All right, meeting adjourned.
So I just noticed